Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do a best of 2022 so far video. We are at the end of June, folks. It has been an interesting year when it comes to knives. It feels like, I don't know, it either feels like the longest year ever or the shortest year ever. I know that sounds dumb, but like certain things have felt like, wow, we've had this many knives this year, and other things have felt like we just haven't seen a lot. So I don't know. It's stupid. It really is. But here we are. So I'm holding the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest because this was obviously sort of the winner-ish of the first quarter of Knives of the Year. So, you know, this is kind of my gauge for what I'm thinking by the end of the year. And it should be a fun battle down to the wire on what is the best knife of the year of 2022. I usually do categories, and then I also do the overall knife of the year. Now, for the quarterly ones, I don't remember how I broke it up last time, but I do have some budget stuff. I have some premium, or I have some production premium stuff, and then I have some custom-y stuff. So anyway, I wanted to start with the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest because it was very high on the list 3 months ago, right? And it would still be very high on the list of what is knife of the year for 2022 at this point. But I can be honest and say I haven't really carried this at all in the past couple of months. And it's mostly because I've just had other knives come in for review. This is kind of how it goes on this channel. Sorry, I got this Band-Aid. It's going to be hard to... Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it. I have knives coming in all the time for review and whatnot, so I just don't get a chance to carry my own knives all that much, right? So, like, my extremely loved knives, like, you know, my Urban and my Rosie and my Rask, you know, I don't carry them very often. My FSD, right? Like, my Evo. Just kind of how it goes because of the channel, but I also see it as kind of like a test, because if I don't carry it for usually a month is when I'm like, all right, I'm selling the knife, you know. I might love it, but I don't carry it, so it's not worth having, right? And I did sell one of the Mini Tempests. I don't know if I still had it when I did the last 3-month update, but yeah. So anyway, I do still love this knife. I still think it would be high on the list. And at the end of this video, I'll put all the knives out and we can kind of go over where it falls into that sort of space. Because it's, to me, it falls in right with a couple others. And, yeah. So, anyway, Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. I'm waiting on the newer model, the Apex, that I pre-ordered. I haven't heard anything about that. I thought they were coming in June, but you know how it goes with Riot. It's always going to be a couple months later, so... A beautiful knife, beautiful design, and the biggest thing I can say about it is I've been tempted to sell it a couple times, and I just cannot bring myself to do it, even though I haven't been carrying it. I just love the design, I love the knife, and I specifically love this one, you know? I have this one with the perfect detent, the perfect just swing shut action, and it's just not worth losing because I'll try to get another one eventually and I'll never find the perfect balance again, right? So it's just not worth it. It's also dead centered, like no play, just money, right? So love this knife. That is the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest, and it is still high on that list. So let's talk about a couple of budget knives. These would be the budget offerings. One of them is going to be, well, actually, should I talk about... let me think. Did I have any honorable mentions? I feel like I did. I feel like I had... yes, I had 2 honorable mentions. Sorry. Let me backtrack real quick. So, honorable mention number 1, Brown Knives Yeager-M. You guys know I'm in love with this knife. You've seen multiple versions of it on the channel. These are the 2 I have right now, and I have another one coming, the Fanatic Edge one. absolutely just love this knife. Ooh, was that wet? Be careful here. Came out of my back pocket, so it could be the ass juice. Anything that's been in my back pocket, I've been cleaning down pretty much daily with alcohol, and then applying knife pivot lube, knife shield after. Even if I have to do it every day, I will, just because I'm afraid of rusting these knives. The place to look for me is inside of the slots, and that's where you're going to see that rust start first, I think. Either there or like the spine of the knife, because that's the part that's, I think, most susceptible, because it hasn't been finished with a satin or a stone wash or whatever it may be on your knife. Usually they just bead blast the holes, right? So it's the most susceptible to these issues. Anyway, the Yeager-M does not count because it came out years ago, I think. Maybe a year ago, a couple years ago. And this is the third run, I think. Could be the fourth. I think it's the second batch with Riot, and it's a huge order, like 2,000 knives. But I had a Yeager-M last year, so it's not a new knife for 2022, so I don't want to add it. But it's an honorable mention because I've carried the shit out of it. These newer inlay versions are new, sort of, you know. So I just wanted to add it to make it an honorable mention, because it's been a highly carried knife, literally on the daily. It's hard for me not to have a Yeager-M in my pocket, whether it's this one or I just got that one. So that's the other thing, is I've been constantly getting new ones, different variants and stuff, so it makes it to where I really want to carry them. This one is the Brittany Blue, and I have the Mokutai backspacer I added in. I think it gives it a nice pop of color, but not too much, right? I think the collars and the clip would have just been too far. But I did want to go ahead and add something, and I think it works with the blue. It wouldn't work with the copper, I don't think. I'm actually waiting on a clip in black Timascus for this one. So it'll be black and gray, and I think that'll go well with the copper, right? Just to have something. I could always put that on this one or something else. But anyway, the Yeager-M is a phenomenal knife and fantastic EDC, and keep your eyes peeled for a battle video featuring this. It might be the next video. I'm really amped up for a battle I have planned. So let me just put, this one was in my pocket, and I'll put the other one aside. All right. So the other honorable mention for me is the Nimble X from EMP EDC. Now, the reason I'm counting it as an honorable mention is because it's a version of the Nimble to me, and the Nimble came out last year, right? The pre-order for this, I think, might have been last year too. But no, it couldn't have been last year. That would have been a really long production. I don't know, maybe. Could have been. But it's a little too, what do you call it? I don't know. It's a Nimble. So I don't feel like it should count as a new knife. Maybe like the Nimble T Tanto or the Warney, because it's technically like a whole different, I guess this is too, the sheep's foot, but it's the same exact handle. I don't know. I just feel weird doing that, and it doesn't feel new enough to be high on the list anyway. Like, it wouldn't win Knife of the Year for me, where this was like second place last year, you know, as it's, you know, the original model. So I don't know how to explain that better, but I wanted to honorable mention it because it is a fantastic knife. But it's a Nimble, right? It's been around. So to me, it just seems better. I will say this is another one that I've had to, I've carried a bit, and I've had to clean up a lot. I already had a little bit of rusting in there. The Nimble is the one knife with that I tend to have the ass juice problem with the most. My OG one was this finish, right, but this size. And I had to get rust out of the hole a couple times, out of this area a couple times, out of the spine a couple times, because they usually just this is all bead blasted in here, and that just makes it susceptible to rust. And I don't know if it has something to do with their heat treat or what, but I just have issues with nimbles, and the satin nimbles anyway, and rusting. So I don't know. They did a drop the other day, yesterday for me, and I actually picked up this version of the X, except it's a sheep's foot. So I have the black wash coming, and I'm hoping that kind of just solves my issue. I already have buyers lined up for this, so don't worry about asking. Sorry. But anyway, honorable mention number 2 is the Nimble X. All right, so then we're gonna get into the budgety ones. One of these is a placeholder, so you guys will know this was, I think, my budget knife of the year last year, the Asher full tie Nomad in M390. But it's a placeholder today for the Spiro with hole, or the hole Spiro, as I like to call it. Some people think I named it the Holy Spiro. It's not. I named it the Hole Spiro. W/hole Spiro. Get it? With hole. All right. I think I'm clever. Apparently nobody else gets it. So anyway, it's a placeholder because that knife is loaned out currently. It's on a pass around with the Douglas, and the Douglas can't be on the list. It would be, honestly. It can't be because it's not out yet. It hasn't even dropped. So I don't have much to say just because I'm holding a placeholder, not the actual knife. But the whole Spiro is titanium with S35 and a hole here. It's like $115. I think you can use my code and make it a little bit less. So around $100 for those materials. Made by Kunwu, just a really good build quality. And like the Thai Nomad here, just one of the best EDC knives. That's the point, is hands down. The Asher with hole Spiro and this one here are just some of the best just EDC knives you can get. So not many frills or anything, but it has a great detent, great action. Man, it's really good. It's got a filler tab. It looks great. So it's just a fantastic knife, and it probably will be in the running for Knife of the Year in the budget category. Again, it's always an Asher for me. I don't know why. I love Justin over there, but I think his knives are just that good for the price. You know what I mean? It's hard for these other companies to match because he's doing titanium and M390, titanium S35 for like right around $100, you know? It's hard for even the budget brands to compete with that. So that's the placeholder for that one. And then we have, believe it or not, the Kizer Original, the Mojave Outdoors Kizer Original. Shout out to Backpack B for giving me this knife because it really opened my eyes. I was over it. Like, I was not into this knife. I got one when they came out, and it had an issue with the button where the spring, like, I took it apart, and all of a sudden I had no detent, and I just got frustrated with it, and I got rid of it, right? Gave it away. And then Brent was like, dude, it's still an amazing knife. Like, you got it, and he just gave me one, right? It's essentially a Sea Otter button lock budget knife, a budget version of the Sea Otter, but what are you going to do? As budget knives go, I mean, $70, $80. It's an aluminum, hard anodized frame, button lock, 154 cm steel. I just think it's a really good combination, really good package. And for EDC, it's one of the best in terms of bang for your buck that you're going to get. And in terms of a budget button lock, it actually is good. There's so many of them now, and most of them are trash. The Civivi Altus would be kind of hand in hand with this, but I like this a little better with the aluminum scales and everything. And the Civivi Conspirator are also really good. I got to give those props, but the original here is the one I have, and it's my favorite. I can get a full grip on it. It's small, though, with a 3-inch blade, essentially. I can get into a good pinch grip, cut my shipping labels. The button is recessed properly to where it's actually recessed. I can push a little bit without deploying it. So when I do a lefty reverse flick, I'm not losing the detent. And that's my biggest problem when trying to reverse flick these budget button locks, is they have the button sticking out up to here. Even if they have a recess cut, they still have the button sticking out to here. So I go to flick it as a lefty, and what do? I'm depressing it, and the detent disappears. Well, the original does a much better job of that. Occasionally I will have it happen, but for the most part, as you can see, I'm just getting a normal deployment. Just getting a good, crisp reverse flick. It's not the strongest detent, but it's definitely a serviceable one. And yeah, I really like it. I kind of want to get the concrete gray with stonewash or satin or whatever it is again. It's the one I had but sold because it pissed me off, and I like this knife enough now that like I do want to get the version I really like again. But you know what? I'm starting to be more fond of blackwash and DLC and stuff just because of the rusting issues in the summer. But I'm definitely more of a blackwash guy. These finishes aren't for me. But anyway, the Kizer original, Mojave Outdoors original, is probably your top budget knife right now. Believe it or not. And I hate the button locks, but this one nails it. All right, so we're going to get into the more premium stuff here. First up would be the laid-back Pickle Jack from Jack Wolf Knives. This is by far the best traditional knife, by far the best slip joint knife that has come out this year. You could, depending on your tastes, you could put in, you know, another one of his knives if you wanted to. Let me just, while we're here and I'm holding all these knives, I might as well knife shield them up a little bit. Even though these slip joints are more in a slip in the pocket all the time, I don't mind just, you know, giving them a once over with the knife shield. Might as well, right? So, anyway. You can use code LeftyEDC at knifepivotlube.com. Trust me, this stuff is awesome. You can also get a bunch of other stuff. So first, the slip is from Northwoods Leatherworks Co. Guys, if you haven't seen any of my videos on it, check it out. Absolutely, Troy is the man. He makes an incredible slip, the best slips on the market. And if you let him know you came through the channel, you can get one of these for like $35 shipped to your door. It's insane. For this type of Pueblo or Horween or whatever leather it is. I mean, look at this. Just, I mean, it's ridiculous. So the knife. Ben Belkin is behind Jack Wolf Knives, and Ben is a good dude. He is a fantastic human being. If you guys recently saw the the Little Bro Jack got delayed because of a QC issue. It was having, what's it called, blade wrap. And instead of, you know, doing whatever I think most companies would do is just hope it doesn't come back to bite them, just sell them, make the money, right? Ben recalled them. He brought them back from dealers that he'd already shipped overseas. And he's like, nope, I need those back. I got to fix this problem. Anyway, that's the Little Bro Jack, but that just shows his character. The laid back Pickle Jack is an amazing EDC knife. One of the best EDC knives you can get. You get into this pinch grip, you have this wonderful Wharncliffe blade with this beautiful tip, and it's just an X-Acto knife in your pocket. It has a full hollow grind, stupid thin. It's just perfect for EDC, guys. And then you look at it aesthetically, and it's a freaking just gorgeous knife. It's a very simple and low profile swayback, but it is a swayback, and it normally not my style. I do own 2 swaybacks. I love the way this looks. It gives me like snake vibes, right? It kind of looks like a, I don't know, some kind of a snake, the python or something. I don't know. And then you have the walk and talk, which is just, it's so good, guys. You just can't beat the walk and talk on a Jack Wolf, honestly. I've handled a good amount of slip joints at this point, and the Jack Wolfs just sing. I mean, seriously, they're snappy yet crisp. They have the perfect amount of spring. You know, if you watch it pop to place and pop down, it's just so good. The bolsters are beautiful. I love the coloring, the fat carb. It's a winner freaking chicken dinner is what it is. You cannot beat this knife. If you're looking for a slip joint or a traditional knife, I highly recommend you check out a Jack Wolf Knives slip joint. You can pick whichever one, you know, suits your fancy. There's obviously the sharpshooter jack as well, which is a gun stock pattern. Also a beautiful knife. I just prefer the Wharncliffe. And then you have the Little Bro, which is sort of similar to this, but littler. Am I putting that in right? Yeah. So anyway, that's the laid back Pickle Jack. Fantastic knife. Best traditional, best slip joint so far this year. All right, moving along, we have the baby Barlow from Urban EDC Supply and Justin Lundquist. As you can tell, I have two of these, and that's because I absolutely love this design. It is just fantastic. It's such a great little knife. It's obviously called the baby Barlow. It's a mini knife, but it's fantastic. You can watch my review. You can watch the battle videos. It's in a lot of videos. I can get a full 4-finger grip on this tiny knife. I mean, here's the Nimble, or here's the Mini Tempest, just something to give you a reference as to how tiny it is. Okay, it's freaking tiny. The Kizer original, let's see. Hopefully that helps demonstrate the sheer tinyitude of this thing. Yet it packs a punch for me EDC wise. It does everything I need it to do. The only downside of this knife is it doesn't have a more acute tip. That's it. That's all. I absolutely love it. I love the two versions I have. I wanted the titanium. I just couldn't bring myself to buy a $200+ G10 or micarta knife when I had the option for titanium. That's just a personal thing. It's M390 and titanium. This one has a fully milled titanium scale. This one has a pivot collar inlay of G10. They both have a little standoff down there. They both have a really cool deep carry clip mounted like that. You can see the inset liner lock screws right there, and that's what makes this thing so wonderful. Is it's an inset liner lock. So there's no lock bar pressure to worry about. And the action on these for being tiny is insane. They essentially shrunk down the pivot system, right, to where it has these microscopic bearings. So it acts like you taking a knife this size and putting it on the right size bearings, right? It can do the same thing because it's shrunk down. So those bearings don't have all this surface area to cross, right? That's what happens. Usually you get a small knife and they put normal bearings in it. Well, it's not going to have great action because it has to, you know, cover that full bearing surface area or whatever. You get what I'm saying? And these just have tiny bearings. It's still stable. It's just that they have tiny bearings, so it's just more of a normal action on a tiny knife, guys. It's fucking fantastic. And it's smooth as butter. I mean, it's like glass. I mean, I hate that glass term. It feels like a Trevor burger. Anyway, I've rambled about these so much, and they also just look cool. Closed or open, they just look unique and cool and interesting. Justin Lundquist, Urban EDC, they killed it on this knife. I highly recommend it. Don't sleep on it. If you can find one, get one. Trust me. That's the baby Barlow. Let's see. Next up is a knife I've raved about for a long time. And, man, it's the Winter Blade CoFactor. You guys know I've really loved this knife. I was lucky enough to be able to get one of the prototypes in for review before the drop, and it convinced me that I needed one. And I was then lucky enough to actually get one on the drop. A lot of people, I'm sure, think that I got like the hookup or something from Brian Winters. I did not. I actually was just fast or lucky or whatever. I don't know. But I got one on the drop. Then I sent it in to him because my lock felt kind of stiff. Kind of felt like it had lock stick. It's not really locked. It's hard to explain. But it felt really tough to disengage. And I fidgeted with it for like 3 or 4 days straight to try to, break it in. I tried the marker and all that stuff, and it just never really got better. So I sent it to him, and he replaced it with a weaker magnet, I guess, in here. So the lock, you can actually soften or strengthen depending on the puck you put in there. He's contemplating sending the batch 2s with different pucks so you can do it yourself. So that's just a cool little thing to note. But when he did it, he also sent it back with a little tritium vial in here. So I got a blue tritium vial in my push lever, which is cool. It glows in the dark. It's fantastic. It's really cool, actually. I love this knife for many reasons. One of which is it's a fantastic EDC knife. I think people are short-sighted on this one, and they just see fidget factor, and all they think about is how fidgety it is, and they kind of disregard how good it is as a knife, right? Now, it's not the most ergonomic knife in the world, so if you're going to be doing hard, long sessions of use, I don't think this is the knife for that, because, again, you have this area here that, you know, you can kind of get into in certain grips, which isn't great. And then it's just a thin, sort of rectangular knife, and you can feel the corner of the clip a little bit. But if you're just doing EDC, like for me, cutting shipping labels, cutting into packages, cutting a little bit of fruit and stuff that I've had to cut up for my kid, normal EDC tasks, it is so wonderful at it. And then the blade, because it's this sort of like just raw machine satin, it cleans up really well. I usually just take a rag or a little bit of the knife shield here, and I'll spritz it on the rag or the blade. And man, this stuff is so good that you just do this, give it a little once over, and then smear off, right? Take a clean side, smear it off, and you're good to go. It'll take any tape, gunk, anything with it, right? And I'm just careful to cover the lock. I just kind of, when I spray these knives with the knife shield, I wrap the handle in the microfiber like this, and then I spray it. That way you don't get the knife shield into your pivot area or anything like that. And on this, you don't want to get any on your lock area. But it cleans up really well, and I have probably used this knife more than any other knife in my collection since I got it, which has been, you know, a few weeks, and then it was gone for a week or so. So I mean, it's been sort of like honeymoon, pause, honeymoon, right? Or honeymoon phase. And it's hard to get out of my pocket. Part of it is it has a reversible clip for a premium knife. This is like an odd sort of knife to place. I would definitely call it a premium knife. Like, do you put it up there with Riot built, you know, OEM projects like the Sharp by Design? I mean, you can get a Mini Tempest with regular carbon fiber was $375. This was $375. So do I put it in that same category? And the answer to me is hell and yeah. This thing is in that category. It might not be Riot level of finish on, you know what I mean? Like, you can see a clear just difference in how well the fit and finish is done, right? This is done really well. But, you know, you got T6 screws. This one, what the fuck? This one he added for me. So that's normally an empty hole, which kind of would bug me, which is why he did it. The carbon fiber's a nice touch, and it looks good. It's not as polished as this, right? But to me, the mechanism and everything, the magnetic detent system, what I call the WMD, the Winter Blade Co. Magnetic detent, is just beyond this world. And you guys may have seen my review already, so I'm just beating a dead horse here. But it's a wonderful and fantastic knife, and it's fidgety as hell. And I just want to kind of make that clear, because I feel like people just think of it as a fidget toy, and it is much more than that. And the left-hand carry helps it a lot for me, because it gets in pocket more. Because I don't have a ton of left-hand carry knives, when I get one that I really like, I carry it constantly, because there's not going to be another one that comes along super quickly. Like right now, the other one that I recently got is this custom Jasmine from Ray Laconico that I need to carry and use and review, and I haven't gotten to yet. I got it a few days ago because my thumb was really jacked up. I'm waiting for it to heal so I can use the thumb studs properly. And this, I can reverse flick. Even with this cut right on my middle finger, it doesn't hurt. It feels great. So just an excuse for me to carry this more, and that's kind of what's happening, and I love it. You know what I mean? Also, tritium's dope. So that's that one, and I think we have two more. So I'll start with the last sort of high-end production, then we'll talk about the custom one, which you guys probably already know. But the Matt Christensen designed Maverick S is, to me, man, in this category of best production knife, right? Like premium production knife. So like category wise, I'd say budget, right? 100 or less. Since I have the Spiro in there, 115 or less, whatever, 120. It could even be 150, honestly. 150 or less. And then you kind of have your production, sort of like premium production segment, which to me would be like, I guess, 150 then to like 500, something like that. I guess it just has to be production, so it could be more. But this was like 485, so I'm just going to say 500. And then you have your sort of customs, right? Or your small batch custom shit or whatever. In that production realm, this knife is bonkers. It really is. Yes, it's a basically $500 knife. But it has camo carbon, and then it has Zircuti or Zircuti everything, right? The thumb studs, Zircuti. The pivot collars, Zircuti. The clip, Zircuti. The backspacer, Zircuti. And then you have a 20 CV blade, pretty sure, with this acid washed, beautiful hollow grind. You have a titanium liner lock in there. Again, camo carbon, just so well executed. Centering's dead nuts. This is one of those knives that I have not touched. I have not thought about adjusting the pivot. I have not really sat there and been like, man, I really want to put skips in that bad boy. Like, yeah, I do, but at the same time, it's just so good. It's not like a dropper. It'll fall to your nail. I'm being careful because I cracked my nail again, and I'm just being uber careful. It will, trust me, it will drop to your nail. And then it's just soft, smooth, shake, close. Could I take it apart, put skips in it, and maybe get that a little bit better? Probably. But what if it doesn't center back up? Like, what, I just have that fear. Right now, there's no play, no rock, no nothing. And it's really good. So it's just not worth messing with until I need to mess with it. It's one of the sexiest knives I've ever had. That's just plain and simple. I'm not normally the Zircuti guy, Mokutai guy. I do it, but it's like usually a pop of color. Just the clip. Just the backspacer, right? I'll buy the kit, but then I'll usually have multiple knives. If I love a knife enough to buy a Mokutai kit, I probably have multiples. So like on this one, I put the backspacer on a different nimble. On this, I'll put the, clip on a different one. It's just how I do it, right? This is like one of the only knives where the whole thing being Zircuti works for me. Everything else is blacked out, and then, man, it's just so sexy. And the detent is so perfect on this knife, it's not even funny. I've handled a bunch of other Mavericks at this point, and I do have to say Riot is starting to vary more and more as we go. But I also think part of it is the camo carbon makes it really sound snappy too, where the micarta maybe was just a little duller. But they've all been fantastic, right? They've all been built extremely well. They've all been centered. They've all, like, dude, they killed it with the Maverick S. And Matt Christensen killed it with the Maverick S. This is a phenomenal piece. And currently, man, it's hard to not have this be the top knife of 2022 so far. So, like, it was the Mini Tempest, I would say, at the end of last quarter. And now, I don't know, because the Factor just, it has that factor to it. It has that just magic to it. So it's really hard to beat the Factor. So I don't know. This is a struggle internally for me right now. I think I'd probably give it to the Factor just out of uniqueness. But this is not very far behind. I love this thing so fucking much. So I still got to do the full review, honestly. I have a couple of videos I want to do with it, and I need to do the review. I love it. Ironically, I haven't carried it like a ton. I carried it a lot when I first got it, when I got home from Blade and all that stuff, and I still love it. But I haven't carried it a ton lately, and it's just, again, because I have so many goddamn knives. And I have to review them and whatnot. But, again, this is one of those where it's like, nah, it's not going anywhere. It's so fucking good. Anyway, last one is the sort of custom production small batch one. And you guys all know what's coming. It's the Brown Knives FSD. That came out this year. And holy bananas. Yeah. This is currently Knife of the Year for me. Again, it's a struggle. I love the Factor. But I gotta say, even with the Factor on the table, I think the Brown takes it. I think it's just on another level in terms of the machining and the fact that it's a custom. I mean, just look at this knife. You know, it's just hard. And then you have the world's best middle finger flick ever. I can't express enough how fantastic the middle finger flick is on this knife. It is a gargantuan knife. I think it's 3.75 on the blade. Here's a baby Barlow for reference. I think it's 3.75. You have 3.5, I think, on the Nimble X. You can see it's quite a bit bigger than that. Mini Tempest, 3.5-inch blade anyway. It's a little bit smaller than the Nimble X, even though the blade's the same. That's because of Sharp by Design's magic. But there you go. You can see the size difference. It's gargantuan, but it's just something about the knife that makes it not matter. It's just so damn good, you know. And I just did my full review on that, so go check it out. I think I titled it the best knife of 2022 so far, and I mean that. This brown lock is phenomenal. I think being left-handed, it actually is a benefit on this knife because it just feels like a button lock to me. Of course, the clip isn't, but it carries in my back pocket so well. It has this landing pad. Oh my God. This knife is just off the charts, guys. So fucking good. So, yeah. So, again, I wanted to just take out the ones that are sort of the Riot level and show you what we're working with here. Riot is killing it again this year. You know, a lot of people say they're slipping, and, you know, maybe they are slipping a little bit, like I said. But they're also crushing it. And for the sheer amount of knives that comes out of that factory, right? It's extremely impressive to see how they continuously crush on just everything. Like, it's insane. Yeah, on the Jaegers, I've had to adjust detent a little bit on some of them. I've also had some other things with the Jaeger. So if you look at these two, they're both inlay versions. The pivot on this one is not flush. It's just ever so slightly raised On this, perfectly flush. And what I figured out was the inlay, if you look at the CF there, the inlay is thicker on this than it is on this. And that's why the pivot just doesn't seat in all the way. They trimmed it too thin, or what, I don't know how they do it. But so they're not perfect, guys. They're starting to slip a little bit. But it doesn't bother me because they're continuing to pump out beautiful designs at a rapid rate and a large quantity and get them in my hands. And I will take that small trade-off of having issues for that. Because me, personally, I'll buy 8 of them. I'll sell 3, buy another 4, figure it out. You know what I mean? I might lose a few bucks here and there, but it's worth it. It's worth it. So I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? No, I don't want them to keep slipping, but I'm okay with where they're at currently. And if they can continue at that, I think it's fine. Plus, I think the Yeager is a special case because there was 2 goddamn thousand of them. It's just a little different than when, there's maybe like 500 or what. I don't know how many baby Barlows there were, but I think it makes a difference. Even at Riot, like, they're going to do a better job on a smaller batch, I think. I don't know. But they also did, I'd venture to guess there was like at least 1,200 of these Mini Tempests, maybe more. And they, again, had differences in detent, but that was really the only thing I noticed on these. So, I don't know. So that's 2022 Q2 in the bag, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Sorry, this is a real long one, but hey, that's how it goes with me, right? I'd like to know your knife of 2022 so far. If you want to break it into the categories, so if you want to do the budget knife, I'm calling it 150 or less, I guess. That might add a bunch of knives that I'm not thinking of currently, but 100, 150 or less, basically, whatever you consider a budget knife. And then you have sort of your production, premium production, and then you have your small batch, custom, whatever you want to call it, knife, right? So I'd love to hear, and if you want to count it, slip joints, traditionals as a separate thing, that's cool. I kind of do that, and this would be the easy winner of that for me right now. Oh my God, this is so sexy. But anyway, that's it, guys. I've rambled enough. I love you guys. I truly do. I appreciate all of the support. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that'd be awesome. If you want to hit the like button, cool. Leave me a comment for the algorithm. Leave me a comment just to chat. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. LeftyEDC88@gmail.com. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Facebook. You guys know where to find me. I love interacting with you, and I love this community. So I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.